Hi, folks, and welcome into another exciting edition of Cold Rain's Weather World, the most fun-filled, action-packed weather show on the internet, where we've got all the weather, including today's weather with the severe weather outlook, as well as the rest of your work week forecast, your weekend forecast, the peek around the corner at the long range, and of course, our daily Weather IQ question. And we're going to do things a little bit different today. We're going to move that Weather IQ question down just a bit after today's forecast. And right after that, we're going to get into our solar and geological update. We've got a coronal hole turning toward us and another cluster of sunspots headed our way as well. So we're going to take a look at all of that. And we're going to wrap up with your beach forecast. One of the listeners to this show suggested maybe we do a beach forecast from time to time. So we'll check that out and see what that looks like. And I'll show you where to get that information from so you can go get it yourselves if you want to go out to the beach for the day or for the weekend or take a big vacation. You can go right to this website and it'll show you exactly what to look for. And we've got the big rock fishing tournament going on, the Blue Marlin tournament. So we're going to take a look at that too and see what conditions look like. I'll have all the segments outlined in the description of the show. And so you can go in there and skip right ahead to where you need to. But we're going to go ahead and get started here with the severe weather outlook for today. And thankfully, we don't have that much in the way of severe weather to really be all that concerned with. Just a slight risk down here from, say, San Antonio over to Houston, and that's about it. We've got a marginal risk for more isolated severe weather from just south of Abilene toward Fort Stockton over into just south of Dallas, getting into Shreveport and encompassing the southern portion of Texas. Another little marginal risk, again, isolated severe weather possible. Wind and hail primarily are the threats here, from really Milwaukee back into over here into northeastern Nebraska, Sioux Falls, places like that. And then Boise over to Missoula, down in toward Casper and Salt Lake City. You could see a couple of isolated thunderstorms this afternoon as well. Not much in the way of tornado threat, just a couple of tornadoes possible, little spin-ups down here in southeast Texas. Wind is the primary threat and hail as well. We've already got some thunderstorms popping off in portions of Texas this morning, prompting some flash flood warnings. We'll take a look at that here in a minute. And then some other storms across the deep south and then over into the Gulf Stream. We are seeing thunderstorms develop out there as well. Our dew point temperatures this afternoon, folks, climbing up into the upper 60s and 70s across portions of the plains and the deep south. And if we will put this into motion, you can see how this sort of appears as we go through the course of the day. So backing on up here to the morning, kind of see it mix out a little bit here in the Ohio and Tennessee valleys as we start to get some heating, but it's going to feel muggy up here in the central plains, down into the southern plains across the deep south as we go through the afternoon and evening. And then that's where our shower and thunderstorm activity will kind of be maximized down here, where this instability is going to be the strongest. Looking at the surface map today, we've kind of got this split flow pattern. We've got energy going across the north. We've got a piece of energy kind of trapped here under a ridge in Texas, and that has been here for days, and it's going to continue to slowly migrate to the east. And so we'll continue to see a threat for heavier rain and a focus for showers and thunderstorms, and a couple of those could be severe over the next couple of days down in the south central plains and the deep south. We've got this boundary that's sitting across from off the northeast coast down through Texas. That is washing out, and we'll see that dissipate. We've got a new boundary up here along the northern plains from the Rocky Mountains all the way over to the Great Lakes, and that'll be a focus for general shower and thunderstorm activity over the next several days. And we'll see energy kind of moving along in that flow, and we'll see those showers and thunderstorms ebb and flow. But anywhere from the northern plains down into the Rockies and the central plains over to the deep south, we could see general shower and thunderstorm activity, probably most focused along the northern plains and the deep south as well as we go through time. Here's our alerts map. Not a tremendous amount going on, but we do have this flash flood watch in effect for a large area from Dallas down toward Waco over into just the extreme southwestern portion and northwestern portion of Arkansas and Louisiana, respectively, through tomorrow. For heavy rain, we could see 1 to maybe 4 or 5 inches in spots in this area. Extreme heat watches are up for later in the weekend. Folks out here from Southern California into Southern Arizona, we're talking Phoenix and Tucson and Tombstone, places like that. You guys could see temperatures this weekend approaching 105 to 110. That is way too hot for me. So take it easy as we get on in toward the weekend, but not much else going on. Fortunately, we're seeing that Canadian wildfire smoke. It's finally almost out of our hair, at least for in a way that's going to cause a lot of air quality issues. Now, looking at the satellite picture, folks, this morning, let me get on a display here that shows this well, and you can see showers, a few thunderstorms in Oregon, over here in South Dakota as well. Down in Texas, we've seen storms move through Dallas this morning and down toward the southern part of Texas, going through Houston and down toward Corpus Christi. We've seen line of shower and thunderstorm activity, big cluster of clouds associated with that upper level low that we're talking about, that's kind of sitting down here trapped under a ridge. And here's that energy just working along the northern tier, bringing clouds and occasional showers. North of the border, we're seeing clouds, and then clouds, a few high clouds working into the southeast. Thunderstorms developing over the Gulf Stream, as they often do this time of year. That's how that happens, or overnight into the morning hours we see that. But looking at the temperatures for the rest of the day today, high temperatures 70, so pleasant up here in the northeast, quite chilly over Lake Superior, but we get on into the actual land masses, and we're looking at the UP of Michigan all the way over into the, essentially call it the Dakotas, and up into northern Montana, we're seeing temperatures in the 70s. Rocky Mountains a little bit cooler, but 90s working in all the way up into Spokane and up to the Canadian border out west. Hot hundreds, 105, 110 down here in the desert southwest, so very warm out here, and 80s and 90s back in the Central Plains along the deep south, with the exception of Texas, where clouds and rain will keep temperatures down there. Now, looking at the afternoon as we go on through the day today, we're going to put this into motion and show you 3 segments of the country: west, central, and east. And here's the future radar. Rain this morning in Oregon up into Montana. You'll see those showers continue to blossom through the course of the day, up and down in the Rocky Mountains, and just into the foothills of the mountains here. You're seeing shower and thunderstorm activity continue to develop, and a couple of these could go severe in the area that I outlined before, and all of that will diminish as we get later on into the evening, with the exception of showers working into the Dakotas. Now, if we switch over here and take a look at the Central Plains and see what's going on here, showers out there this morning in Texas, a lot of thunderstorm activity down there, heavy rain, a little bit less activity up here in the Northern Plains, but that'll continue to pick up as the afternoon goes on. You start to see a few thunderstorms break out in the Dakotas area over to southern Minnesota and western Iowa, and you see those kind of diminish. And then down in Texas, we're seeing that shower and thunderstorm activity work off into Louisiana, Arkansas, bringing some heavy rain, showers focusing over the southeast. And here comes that upper level feature cooling the upper levels, creating an instability axis here, and you're seeing shower and thunderstorm activity develop in a more robust fashion down here in Texas. And we continue to go through the evening. That will persist, as well as some of this activity in southern Minnesota into Wisconsin over into Michigan as well. So we'll continue to see that activity persist into the evening hours and even expand down here in Texas as we go through time. And then over the East Coast, the eastern section of the country, we're going to see shower and thunderstorm activity this morning in eastern North Carolina, the Gulf Stream. Of course, that if you're out here fishing, you're going to see occasional shower and thunderstorms as well. Going to be a nice evening for the third game in the NBA Finals between the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. That game, that series so far is tied 1 apiece, but we're going to see showers and thunderstorms breaking out across Florida this afternoon, across the deep south too. Look at this. We get on into 4 o'clock this afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock, we're starting to see those shower and thunderstorms really pick up over the deep south. But really, the Northeast, Great Lakes, into the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, you guys are looking good for a nice afternoon, and then everything kind of diminishes over the course of the evening. And that is your Thursday forecast, and that leads us into today's Weather IQ question. And just like yesterday, today's Weather IQ question is about the moon, our natural satellite. So here's the question. What is the moon's gravitational pull compared to the Earth's gravitational pull? The Earth's gravitational pull is 9.8 meters per second squared. So remember that. So here it is. Is it A, about the same, B, half as much, C, about 1/6 as strong, and D, twice as strong? Okay, those are your choices. If you know the answer, type it in the comment section. If you don't, just wait till the end of the show and I will tell you the answer. And coming up, we're going to take a look at the solar potential for a solar storm as the coronal hole turns in, and sunspots as well. We're going to take a look at that in our geological update, and then we're going to get into the rest of the week forecast, and we'll have all of that coming right up. All right, here's our star rotating around a little bit, and you can see a couple of things going off, little popping action. These are filaments, and then we've got these bright spots, which are sunspots. Some of these are turning away, some of these are inconsequential. We've got another area just coming around the limb here that looks pretty bright, probably a big sunspot there, and we've got another sunspot cluster coming in as well. This big dark spot's a hole in the corona. It's not really a hole, but it's where the plasma is not showing up all that well because we've got a little less in the way of that, and we've got the potential here as that turns in, particularly if it's a little bit farther north, it can turn in and bring send a wind stream our way, so we get an increase in solar wind that can play on the magnetic field that the Earth that's surrounding the Earth, and do a little number on that, create a little bit of can create some geomagnetic storm conditions there, as well as sunspots, solar flares, filament eruptions, things like that. And then we take a look at the sunspot activity. Here's 4111 coming in toward us. And as it moves in, we'll see how it develops and potentially could have some complex magnetism associated with it to potentially release a solar flare. So we're going to watch that, keep our eyes on all of this stuff, because this is Cold Rain's Weather World. That's why you subscribe here. We give you more than just sunshine and clouds. We do all of the weather. And so that's what we're looking at, folks. Volcanic activity, not much in our Pacific Ring of Fire that we keep track of. And so still our same 4 spots here that we're watching. By the way, Mount Pinatubo in 1991 began erupting around this time, and it had its climactic cataclysmic VEI 6 on the volcanic explosivity index scale. That was that had that big cataclysmic 6 eruption. I think it sort of hit its apex on the 15th, so won't be able to do a weather world on that, but just know that. Watched Dante's Peak last night, by the way, which is a great movie. If you haven't seen that movie, go check it out. 1997, Pierce Brosnan, Linda Hamilton, and a couple of other cast members in that, but it was very, very good, and you should watch it. Great score on that movie too, by the way. All right, so here's our earthquake map. Not much going on the geological front really at all. Earthquakes not really all that existent. We had a 5.9 over here in Taiwan, but not really anything I don't think came out of that. It was a depth of 31 kilometers. And so I think they were okay over there. But that's our geological update, folks. We'll take a look now at the rest of the work week forecast. And still some areas of concern for heavy rain here in the southern plains approaching the southern Mississippi River Valley from Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas. We could see several inches of rain over the next couple of days. And also up here with a few of these clusters of storms where they repeat, they're going to be efficient rainfall producers up in southern Minnesota into Wisconsin as well. So pay attention up there. But general shower and thunderstorm activity across much of the eastern nation, with the exception of parts of the Ohio Valley into the southern mid-Atlantic and maybe southern sections of New England as well. Up and down the west coast should be dry also, but much of the rest of the nation could see some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Those focused areas, again, this is where we could also see a few isolated severe weather reports from Minneapolis over toward central Wisconsin, and then also down here in southern Texas as well. Southeastern Texas into southern Oklahoma and so forth. So we could see a couple of severe weather reports, but not looking again tomorrow like a widespread severe weather outbreak is possible. But then as we get on into Friday, definitely we're seeing a severe weather threat pick up a little bit. We've got a trough working into the west coast. You can kind of see that represented by this frontal boundary, but I've got a nice frontal zone setting up here with a trough working in, so that's going to act on that to potentially produce some shower and thunderstorm activity. Some of those could be severe with wind and hail from south central Montana all the way into western Wyoming, including the Casper area down here into eastern Wyoming, by the way, and western Nebraska into western Kansas too. So we're going to watch out for that, continuing to see a heavy rain threat exist over portions of Arkansas, where this stubborn area of low pressure just wants to sit and crawl east. But we've got that boundary along the front, waves of energy continuing along it, shower and thunderstorm activity on a scattered basis across much of the central and eastern portion of the country. A little less in the way of thunderstorm activity, maybe just showers up here in New England where it's a little bit more stable there. So that's your Friday forecast. Temperature-wise, we're looking at, again, across the northern tier, north of that frontal zone is where we're finding the cooler temperatures, 70s, even 60s in the northern plains, as we get those systems kind of working in out of Canada there, and 80s abound across the southern, basically 4/5 of the nation, with the exception of that low pressure that persists down here in the southern plains, where we see 70s up here, but mostly 80s, and then until we get to the border, we start to see 90s and 100s in the desert southwest. That will continue to increase out there as we get into the weekend. Much the same, a little cooler in the northeast through the lakes into the northern plains, 60s, but then 70s below that, 80s for much of the rest of the country, 90s in Florida, 90s along the border counties, with hundreds in the desert southwest. Really starting to cool off now in the northeast. You guys have seen plenty of heat out here. I told you yesterday, as we get on in toward the weekend, the day before that too, it's going to start to cool off a bit, and you can see that here, 60s and 70s and 80s up here in the Pacific Northwest now. We get on into Saturday, continuing to see that same regime, very chilly up in the northeast. Look at this, 40s and 50s up here in some of the higher elevations, but 60s as a general rule, 70s through the lakes and the northern tier nation's midsection, 80s, hundreds again, where those extreme heat warnings are up as we get into the weekend. The desert southwest, we're going to see 110, 115, 90s across the south. It's going to be muggy summertime weather, folks. And 60s again prevail across much of New England, 70s through the northern tier and the Great Lakes and all of those areas, and back to normal in the vicinity of it, at least up here in the Pacific Northwest. And heat is the story for Southern California and southern Arizona and New Mexico, down into southern Texas, 90s up in the Central Plains, 90s along the east and southeast as well. So going to get hot. As we get on out in time, it is going to just get hotter and hotter for the nation as a whole. Precipitation over the next 3 days, we're looking at essentially, this is through Saturday morning, 1, 2 to, well, let's call it 2 to as much as 5 to 6 inches in spots from Texas up into eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas, and another kind of footprint of heavier rain in south Minnesota, southern Minnesota, and eastern North Dakota, and over here into northern half of Wisconsin, another kind of a larger footprint of an inch and a half of rain up here, and mostly centered in Montana and those areas. Across the deep south, that's where we're going to find the most shower and thunderstorm activity, so naturally we would see heavier precipitation amounts here than we might see up into the northeast, where things are a little more scattered. But looking at our future radar starting Saturday morning for the weekend, check this out. So we're Saturday morning, got a little cluster of shower and thunderstorm activity ongoing in the Mississippi Valley over here in the northeast as well. But as we go on through the day, that will just explode over the eastern portion of the country, eastern third of the nation. Saturday afternoon, you see shower and thunderstorm activity breaking out. Wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of isolated severe storms, but not really looking at anything all that impressive from a severe standpoint. And then we get on in through Saturday evening, things diminish. We get on into Sunday morning and things start to ramp up again towards Sunday afternoon. So anywhere from North Dakota on south and east, we're going to see clusters of shower and thunderstorm activity. The eastern portion of the country is kind of a hotbed for that with the current pattern that's set up. So look at this, West Virginia, eastern Kentucky, eastern Tennessee, Virginia, Saturday afternoon, or Sunday afternoon toward the evening, North Carolina up into the mid-Atlantic region. We're seeing plenty in the way of shower and thunderstorm activity. That dies off with the heating of the day, but we'll still have some areas in the northern plains and also in the central plains, southern plains, where we start to see, we're going to see these convective elements and these little systems continue to maintain strength through the night. So we'll see thunderstorm activity persist in some areas through the evening hours too. Looking way down the line, long range forecast, we're looking here Thursday as this is not way down the line, but it's going to get way down the line. So check this out. If we go into Thursday, tomorrow afternoon, ridging across the north, but that's where our active flow pattern is. And that look down here, you can see, I'll show you this little kink in the lines here. This is that trough that's sitting in South Texas in sort of the southern plains area, and it's just sort of slow to persist. We get this other trough right here, this low pressure with a trough working in the Pacific Northwest, and then this fast flow up here across the northern tier. That's where energy is just kind of rotating around in that flow, and it'll keep us unsettled across the north. We get on out into Sunday, overnight Saturday into Sunday, this trough still persists here. So we're going to continue to see flow out of the south. That's why we're seeing lots of shower and thunderstorm activity. Even though you got these big orange colors here, we're still seeing a weakness to the west, and flow out of that's going to continue to keep us cyclonic and keep us turning in the atmosphere and keep moisture pumping in. And that's going to help spark showers and thunderstorms through the weekend over in the east. Big ridge setting up here in the west, but we've still got flow moving, energy in the flow moving along that. So that's what the flow looks like. and that'll continue to bring in shower and thunderstorm activity as we move on out. Look at this ridge, still persisting in the west. Trough continues to just sit here trapped in the east, so unsettled weather probably is going to continue into early part of the next week for portions of the south and southeast as that trough sort of sits there. It doesn't really go anywhere, so I wouldn't expect a lot of change in the pattern. But as we get on out in time, look at this. This is toward middle of next week. Got another trough working into the west, and that will spark shower and thunderstorm activity in the plains, looking to be a little warmer along the east coast here. And as we get way on out in time, we start to get this big ridge that starts to dominate much of the country. And so we'll see a return to, or not necessarily a return to, but an advancement toward a continental, at least the contiguous U.S., getting above normal in terms of temperature department. Looking out at the 6 to 10 day from the Climate Prediction Center, big signal for normal to above for the eastern 2/3 of the nation, below, much below out here in the west, above for Alaska, above for Hawaii, and then temperatures are going to warm up as we start to feel the influence of that broader ridging taking over much above in Alaska and Hawaii. Really the only below normal spot, and you guys could use it after all the heat you've had, is up here in the Pacific Northwest. Now, check out this site here. This is the weather.gov/beach website. I'll put this in the link in the description below, but you can go to any of the beaches here, click on these umbrellas and get a forecast. So if you're down here in the Southern Carolina beaches, click on that umbrella and look what you got here. You got all these little umbrellas, and now you can click, if you're going down here to Wilmington, Carolina Beach, any of these areas, just click on the umbrella there and look what you got for Carolina Beach. 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms today, tomorrow, Friday it goes up a little bit, Saturday it goes up a little bit. So we're going to see unsettled weather along the southeast beaches as we get on in toward the weekend. Now check this out. So all of these beaches up and down the coast, you can click on any of these umbrellas and see this, even here in Texas as well. So you can see what the forecast is by just clicking on the area that you're interested in. But we're going to see unsettled weather basically up and down the coast here, Virginia and down, 30 to 40 to 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms every day. And if we go on out here and take a look at eastern North Carolina, look out here offshore where the Big Rock Marlin tournament's going on, you can kind of get an idea of what's happening here. But I've looked at all of these reports up and down the coast. We're looking at seas generally 3 to 6 feet over the next several days through the weekend, with southerly to southwesterly winds at generally 10 to 15 knots. So that's your conditions out there. Gulf Stream storms will fire up overnight. In the late evening and early morning hours, that'll persist through a good portion of the day. Those will die out. So just keep that in mind if you're out there fishing. Hopefully you'll catch something good. And that leads us into the answer to today's Weather IQ question. What is that question, folks? It was, what is the moon's gravitational pull compared to the Earth's? About the same, half as much, about a sixth as strong, or twice as strong. The answer is 1/6 as strong. So that's why you can kind of bounce a little higher and take those little steps along the moon. The moon's a much smaller body and it has a much less gravitational pull. And now you know about the moon, folks. So that's our weather show for today. Hope you've had a good time with me. I've had a good time putting this together. I pray for all of you every single day. Pray for me. We need it. If there's something specific I can pray for, put it in the comments section. Subscribe to the channel and share it with friends and family. Love to have you, love to continue to grow this. We're over 780 subscribers now, approaching 800. So let's get that 800 mark and then we'll march on to 1,000. But really thank you for all that you are, all of the comments that you're making. Let me know where you're from. I'd love to know where you're commenting from. But, let me know if there's any suggestions that you have. But certainly appreciate you viewing. Continue to share it, and let's subscribe if you're not subscribed. Like the comment, like the video, and leave a comment. That helps us grow. So anyway, thanks a lot, folks. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you back tomorrow. Take care.